No peeking. All right, y'all, good morning. This is the last day in the life of a conference interpreter. All right. Oh boy. I'm starting to come down with something. My body's feeling real weak. But you know what? It reminds me of, remember when Michael Jordan went to the playoffs, not the playoffs, the finals, and he had the flu, and then he still rocked this song. So today we're about to meet some of the other interpreters, so you guys can get an idea of interpreting, not just from my perspective, but from other interpreters that are here at the event. We'll be able to hear about their experiences, even the path that they took in order to get here, in order to be interpreting. So some people went to school for it, some people didn't. We'll find out more. All right, so I just got here to the booth, gonna get ready to set up. One tip, always arrive on time. I'm always on time. That is a big business tip. It's even so much so that I give people their money back if I'm 1 minute late. So I always arrive on time. Whatever that you do, you want to be reliable. People want to be able to count on you. So you always arrive on time. Plan to arrive at least 15 minutes early. That way you know that you can arrive on time. Always arrive on time. All right, so here I'm going to show you guys where people who don't speak English come and get their interpretation equipment. So we have a booth over here, and you can see the different channels, English 1, Arabic 2, so on and so on and so on. Now, people have to sign in, and then once they sign in and give their ID, they're given a receiver. So this receiver, it has different channels, just like on a radio, you have different channels. And then with the receiver comes headphones. In fact, we'll look at this one. So you just, on here, once you turn it on, you find the channel that you want. If you want German, you go to 5. If you want French, 4. Korean, 7. And then you put your headphones on, and then this is, when we speak into the microphone in the booth, that signal is coming to here. And so people will be able to listen to the interpretation. And that's it. I mean, at the end of the day, people come, they turn these back in, and they get their ID back, and bada bing, bada boom. All right, so I'm here with Kofi, and he is the French interpreter for the event. And, in one of my previous videos, it is related, I gave some advice about what you wear when you travel. Dressing right is a big part of business, it's a big part of life, it's a big part of travel. Why? Because you never know who you're gonna run into. Can you just tell everyone about the first time that we met, which was at this event?
Well, first time, I was just here checking on our equipment and making sure that everything was ready for the next day. And then here came this gentleman. The first thing that came to my mind is, where did he get this from? Where is he from?
Because I was wearing a traditional African.
Because he was in this traditional African outfit.
The way that I dress. And you can see I have a full traditional African outfit on.
That I was very familiar with. That tells me exactly what part of the world, the only part of the world that this could come from. And this sparked, there was a conversation started, and then we didn't waste time before we could tell what was the background, the culture, and all of that. So it's something unforgettable for me.
And what country are you from?
I am originally from Togo, where I was born and raised, till I came to this country here over 30 years ago.
And then that's where I had the clothes made. I just came back from Togo a couple months ago. So again, like I'm always saying, whatever you wear when you travel, make sure you represent your culture and where you come from, because you never know who you're gonna run into. I would have never imagined that the French interpreters would be from Togo. So that was amazing. Yep. And I had an amazing experience with Kofi. and I really look forward to the next event.
You take good care, and again, good job, and see you next time.
Now, I forgot to ask Kofi in the interview about if he went to school or not for interpretation. And so I asked him later on. He did get his master's in interpretation from the University of Benin. So he is someone who took that path, went to university, got their master's in interpretation. And again, you'll see a variety of people who take that path or who don't take that path. So it's good to hear from both sides. Okay, so I'm here with Risa. If you can just give a quick introduction about yourself.
Sure. Hi, I'm Risa. I'm a Japanese interpreter, and I'm born here in California, but I grew up in Japan. And I started working as an interpreter almost 20 years ago. So I've been doing this for a very long time.
Okay, so how did you become an interpreter? Did you go to school for it, or did you learn from somebody else? Kind of what was the path that you took?
Yeah, so my mom is actually an interpreter, and so she was kind of my inspiration. I started out very, very small, working for airports. I did a lot of phone interpreting. I mean, I'm thinking more of a business setting interpreting. So it's still consecutive interpretation. But yeah, I started it quite in the beginning stage, and I was horrible at it. I'm sure. I'm sure. But yeah, that's how I started.
And then what about simultaneous?
Simultaneous, I'd say about 10 years ago. Yeah, so
it took about 10 years?
About 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah. It's just that, to me it was such a big hurdle to enter the simultaneous field. And then I became a State Department simultaneous interpreter contractor. So that brought in a lot of work.
Yeah, I bet. Wow. That is awesome. Well, thank you very much for your answers. I'm sure the people who are interested in becoming interpreters or even other interpreters will hear this and really be inspired by it. So thank you.
So yeah, it's a great profession. I really love what I do. So yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Shiori Okazaki, and I interpret between Japanese and English.
And when I met Shiori, she was talking about how, her experience and how she really has a lot of experience in interpreting for heads of state and some pretty important people. So in order to get to that stage, what did you do? Did you go to interpretation school, or did you get private lessons from somebody? Kind of what's your path?
Sure. I feel incredibly lucky. And first of all, disclaimer, I haven't interpreted for a lot of heads of state, but I've been lucky enough to have a few opportunities. I got into interpreting when I was working at a full-time job at the Japanese embassy in DC. And it was a cultural branch, and they had a lot of artists come in. So one of my bosses was like, why don't you just go on stage and start interpreting?
Just like that?
Just like that.
Wow.
So I feel incredibly lucky. I'm a contracted interpreter with the State Department, so through that I was able to get some government jobs as well.
Wow. So you probably work often with Risa?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so we just had an interview with Risa.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. Yes. So that's been really wonderful. And in terms of interpretation experience, it's just really on the job. And in my case, I have been working full-time in communications for quite some time, so more than 10 years. And I took long breaks and would interpret for a week or two, sometimes 2 or 3 weeks. And I had really understanding bosses who would allow me to do that. I just told them up front that interpreting is a passion of mine. So I think that's really helpful for anyone who wants to get into interpreting but is a little bit concerned about going freelance right away. Is if you work another job and do that on the side and slowly build your resume and your network. I think that's helpful.
Yeah, I did actually the same thing. I was working part-time jobs while at the same time doing some translation and interpretation, and before getting to the level where I could let go of any other part-time jobs and do this full-time. So.
Wonderful.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Shiori. It was great meeting you and working together with you on this project.
So much.
And I look forward to seeing you soon.
Yes.